quite a few that just wanted to stay virtual remote. So the 30, 40 teachers that are potentially coming back to school will be teaching their class, while the kids in the classroom will be going to their class at 10, 11, 1, and 2. We'll have a little bit of flexibility in the morning before 10, some flexibility at lunch, and then, like I said, from 2:45 to 3:30 to get outside and get some breaks and do whatever we need to do to get those masks off for a little while outside. We will have breakfast in the classroom to start. We're going to start out with lunch in the classroom. We may have certain areas on campus where we can go outside. There's quite a few areas that we can go outside depending on the weather. If it's next week, Monday, you're probably not going to want to be outside. So this is really all kind of play it by ear and see how everything goes and see how many kids are in the classroom and see if we can sneak outside and get some of those breaks throughout the day, so they won't just be sitting in the room for all day, but a lot of the piece will be. One question that's in here, will there be any orchestra or ROTC? To answer that, yes and no, depending on what teachers come back again. If we have certain teachers in the building that can do some of that stuff, I can tell you right now that ROTC, we do have teachers that are going to want to do that, so they'll have a little bit of time to get that piece done. And then as far as really kind of the whole band performing arts area, Mr. Mormon, I don't know if you have any more information on.
Orchestra can play, but the question is going to be whether we have a teacher here for that content at that time.
Okay.
I'm planning on that staying remote.
Next one is, what is your estimation? What percentage of Oñate teachers have been or in the process of being vaccinated? I don't have a percentage right now. I know there's quite a few that haven't. I would say closer to, any guesses, guys, that 70 to 80 that haven't? We really don't have any idea.
Yeah, I would guess in the 80 to 90 range that have not yet. There's quite a few that have started, but maybe haven't received the second one yet. But
yep. Teachers
still are, without a pre-existing condition of some sort, they're still not eligible. So they're just on the waiting list.
Yep. A lot of them are signed up through the Department of Health. You guys have read in the papers or whatever, the teachers were dropped on the list. So we pretty much had all of the staff, and that's teachers, everybody included, EAs, just everybody was on that list to get done, and then they kind of shut it down. So we don't have many right now. If they get on that list, we do have, I would say, 50 to 60 more teachers that are more than willing to come in after that vaccination. So this is kind of why we're starting out on the 22nd small groups. We're hoping, cross our fingers, that around spring break or after spring break, once vaccinations come out and teachers get that we'll be able to do potentially some of the transitioning of classes and doing some of that piece. We're hoping for that, but again, that just depends on what teachers come back and how many teachers we have coming back for that. Will school devices be provided for students who go into the school that don't have a school device? Yes, we have some. So if you do have a device, we're going to highly recommend that you bring that device. We're probably going to have another meeting here, probably at the end of next week, everybody that signed up for option C, to kind of go over all the fun guidelines of mask wearing and social distancing and all that good stuff. So yes, we do have some devices at school that they could use if they don't have one right now. in option B, so we have a meeting with some of the teachers that are willing to come back tomorrow. Option B, we may plan on doing either before school, after school, or we may use Wednesdays for those tutoring sessions for those that want to come in on Wednesdays. We didn't have a lot that were on that option B list. So I'm thinking to not interfere with classes for teachers teaching and students being in class. We may look at Wednesdays right now for option B to start and kind of see how many students are needing that option B or wanting that option B. So that's kind of the plan right now. And like I said, we're meeting tomorrow with the staff that's actually going to be in the building for this. So again, we'll have another meeting on that for the specifics. That one's done. Breakfast and lunch. Yes, we have breakfast and lunch. They'll be grab and go. As far as the free and reduced, I know we didn't fill out any of those forms. I am going to write that question down so I can. Because we never filled out forms this year, did we? Because normally we fill out the free and reduced lunch. So yes, there will be breakfast and lunch. We'll get specifics on the, because we didn't do the free and reduced piece. So in a typical classroom, Mr. Holguin, correct me if I'm wrong, in a typical standard classroom, you were with the fire inspector the other day. How many kids per class about-ish?
14.
So we're looking at 14. If we kind of look at the numbers now, it's going to be less than that based on the survey. So in some of the smaller classrooms that students may be in throughout the day on a normal school year, we're probably going to transition those to a bigger classroom, correct, Mr. Holguin? I think Ms.
Yes,
Adams
that's correct.
said that. So we have plenty of room. Like I said, our cap is kind of 14. We walked around, or Mr. Holguin and Mr. Lucero walked around with a fire inspector the other day. So we will we'll be okay in that one. So what time will school start on the 22nd? So there's kind of two different things on the 22nd, and this is why we need to meet with all these people in option C, probably again next week. So as you guys know, this kind of came really quickly as far as this coming together in this option. And so the bus company needs a little time to get things sorted out. So we're going to get them a list. And really the buses will be kind of a normal whenever they're picked up in the morning at that 8 o'clock time or a little before 8. Those bus schedules will be worked on here very shortly. If students drive, we're going to ask them to be there no later than 9:30. So that way they can get their wellness check, get their breakfast and all that good stuff just to get to the classroom. But those that ride the bus will grab their breakfast and then go to their teacher's classroom and hang out with there. And that's where we'll get some of the teachers to do some rotation and get some extra support if those students need that for option C. Option B is not really a true hybrid. So we first started out after the board meeting to increase face-to-face opportunities. And that was kind of our initial plan, was option B for any student that wanted to come in and that we had enough teachers to help out those small groups. So again, right now we're looking at option B. Really, if it's club organization, it may be before school, after school, and those that need more specific tutoring, we're going to meet again with teachers tomorrow and kind of come up with a structured plan of, hey, on a Wednesday from 9 to 10, math can come in, or English teachers will be available from, let's say, 12 to 2, and we'll have to figure out the bus schedule and the rotation on that and how that all works out. So option B is kind of come and go as you need as far as tutoring and extra services. And then option C is really, if you ride the bus, you're at school all day. Orientation to the building. It's going to be a fun one. So those freshmen that have never been in the building, or those new students that have never been in the building, we will do some type of tour with them as a small group or something, so they can get some idea of what the school looks like. We're going to do a virtual. We have a castle fair coming up for the incoming 8th graders, so I may share that with kind of the option C people, just so they can get to know the building and how it's laid out, and we'll have to do fire drills and all that fun stuff. So
Mr. Shabakon,
yep.
I have some new kids in my advisory, and I shared the building map with them and kind of walked them through, so that whoever the student is that's asking about that may want to talk to their advisory teacher about looking at a map and kind of walking through things virtually before we get there, kind of have a little idea.
Good idea. Dr. Baker, can you put that on your notes for the PowerPoint maybe? So yes, we'll do something, even if we do it maybe that first hour when the kids get there, when they're not in class. If they haven't been around, we can do something like that.
This next question about orchestra is a question that we hadn't even thought of. That's a fantastic question, Ms. Martinez. So we're going to steal that and digest it and figure out what we're going to do. As of right now, Ms. Hill is saying to me, she told the kids, we talked about this in class today. They won't be able to play on that day they're at the school. They'll have to log in and watch without being able to play. I told the students we will work something out.
Or we come up with a plan, because we're only going to have 30 classrooms being used. Like Miss Martinez, your son or daughter goes to the room across the hall, closes the door. Like, we have plenty of room in the school.
We can also send them down to the
To
orchestra
pension.
room if one of us can be in there. So
Yep.
we'll work it out,
Absolutely.
Miss Martinez.
That is a very good question.
I have that in my notes too, because that's other content. Same thing. I think with anybody that has, art labs, any of that kind of stuff. We got to think through that. Thank you.
Yep. Good question. Thank you. Positives for choosing option C in particular. So special education, Mr. Holguin. So can you kind of elaborate on, you kind of have 2 different things going on. So can you explain the one that you're going to start first and then?
Yes, sir. So we currently have our low incidence program, which is our special education program that helps support some of our students with some of our most severe needs. And so we are working on a reentry plan for those students and those teachers and classrooms specifically, which will be somewhat different. The staff has already reached out to those parents and has already inquired as to which of those students are wanting to come back. And so we just had a meeting prior to this one with that group of teachers, laid out a timeline and things that needed to get done. So staff will be reaching out to parents again here in the next couple of days to gather a little bit more information. But we are doing something a little different with that group of students and staff than we are with the larger majority of students that Mr. Shapakam is discussing right now.
Can you discuss maybe the students like in an inclusion that are half and half and what?
And so what we're doing right now is looking at the list of students who are wanting to come back, looking to see which of those students are receiving special education services and English language services. So we could determine how best to support those students with the staff we have coming back. Because again, as Mr. Chapacan has mentioned, not all of our special education teachers are going to be back. And so we need to make sure that we have our staff kind of supporting the students who have IEPs and may need additional support. And so we're kind of looking through that. We are looking through that list of students and trying to working on determining how many students that is, so we can make sure we align them with a teacher that can provide that support while they're there regarding their IEP.
Perfect. Thank you. Mr. Osborne put in there, will a student in option A be allowed to have in-person help if they need? My best recommendation would to maybe be Mr. Osborne, do the survey again and choose option B, because we're going to reach out to all those students and parents that chose option B to get them kind of on a whole different schedule, or maybe kind of inclusive of all this. But really, I would do that survey again. And it's not a requirement that you have to come in. It's just more of a list for us to say, hey, Mr. Osborne, I hear that you chose option B. Here's what we kind of have, slated for maybe a Wednesday or this program or that program, to see if you'd be interested in something like that. So yes, absolutely. We want to support 100% of our students. I know we send out surveys after surveys after survey, but if you could, if that's kind of your option, it's not a requirement to come back. But I would go back and do the survey and just choose option B. So at least that way we can reach out and see if that's your preference. Mr. Hughes, out of curiosity, what is the square footage per student at 50%?
I was just looking at our building map. Most of our classrooms are between 700 to 850 square feet-ish standard classrooms. There's some that are much larger for special programs. We don't have a per student, but we could do the math on it pretty quick. The fire marshal for most classrooms put us at 14 kids in those, let's say, is a average 800 square foot room.
And that was determined by giving every one of those 14 students a 6x6 square foot area, and also providing space for instruction and teacher up in the front of the classroom.
Thank you. Cover the choices again, and who will benefit. Really, I'm not sure who's going to benefit, but we have quite a few students that are doing real well in virtual, remote. They're just knocking out of the park. They're doing real well. So if those students are doing well, don't need the additional support that may be in option B, and don't need, like in some of the survey responses, more structured setting where students can come in, do their class in a desk with a teacher, something like that. Option A, if your kiddo is doing real well at home, that is really up to you if you want to send them back in option B or C. Option B is for students that may be struggling in one area or another and just need that extra, really kind of face-to-face support. I mean, it's hard sometimes as a teacher, as you do some of this stuff. This would be so much better live where you could see faces and do all that type of stuff. So option B would be for any of those tutoring type things, and really also for kind of the small group areas coming in. I'll just use ROTC as an example. If ROTC wants to reach out to their kiddos on a Wednesday, where they can set up something on a Wednesday to kind of help them out, do some of their stuff, keep them kind of in line, on track. That's really kind of the B part, where you don't have to and don't want to be in a classroom all day. You don't need that very structured support. It's just more, you may just need some time live with the teacher. And then option C, again, is for those. Option C would have been probably the option that my parents would have recommended for me, because me sitting in front of a computer at home probably wouldn't have done so well, because I would have been outside running around. So again, it's really up to really kind of how your individual kiddo or kiddos are doing. I did have someone reach out to me the other day that my daughter is doing great virtual online, wants to stay on, but my son not so much. Can one of them stay home and one of them come to school? Yes, absolutely. It's per child. So yes, there will be a time to transition. Let's say if someone chooses option A, it's just not working out. And that's why we're going to kind of have to figure out how to get this out to parents. And hey, email us if you need to get into this model. It's going to be an ever changing, until we hit so many kids that we don't have enough teachers. But right now we're not even close to that. So there is going to be some flexibility. We want to kind of have you make a decision for the rest of the semester, but we know that there's going to be some in and out and back and forth. We just don't want you to, hey, I'm going to be virtual this week. Hey, I want to come to school the next week. There has to be some consistency there. But there is flexibility within the plans on whatever you choose. So yes, absolutely. Just reach out to us and we'll figure that piece out. Again, we're just trying to get numbers right now. And like I said, this will be a very fluid situation. So that kind of answers the next one. Will they be able to opt out from hybrid to online? Yes, just need to let us know if that's the case, because otherwise we're going to be looking for them at school. How would the classroom work? Will the teacher be teaching the remote class, for instance, math, and my daughter might be in social studies at the same time? Yes. So that's the other piece, and we need to make sure we put it in the PowerPoint. We have some extra headphones and all that piece. So yes, the teacher will be teaching their class, and really this is just to start out. We are very grateful for those 30 to 35 teachers that have volunteered to come in and to support these kiddos. So yes, Mr. Holguin is teaching his class at 10 and 11. The other students are online with their headphones in doing their class. We're going to try to figure out how to create some activities or something fun in those 15-minute breaks somehow. So we're not just stuck in the desks and behind the computer. So we do have a little bit of flexibility. And like I said, we have a little time in the morning before 10. At lunch, we have about an hour and 15 minutes. So yes, that's correct. The teacher, one of the 30 that is here, will be teaching their class, and the kids will be in their classes on Zoom. Right now, the proposal is, and we'll have to get this messaged out, and I know it's going to be short notice, and like I said, we might have to have another meeting for everybody that chose option C, but right now we're looking at the 22nd, and it's kind of a weird day to start, I'll be honest with you, because we have school Monday, Tuesday, and then we don't have school for the rest of the week because we have registration next step. So we're going to have to get that communicated out. So be on the lookout for more information on the next meeting, and we'll reach out and do something like this again later on next week. Again, I'm not exactly sure what those first 2 days will look like. Kind of in thinking, again, we're meeting with that group of teachers tomorrow. So the original proposal was A through L Monday, Tuesday, M through Z Thursday, Friday. Looking at our numbers right now, we may stick with that, or we may shift it to just 2 days. So we'll have to get back to you on that. I'm thinking that it's probably going to be easier with smaller groups in the classroom. May have a little more time to do one-on-one type stuff, or have teachers get to students that are there to do more one-on-one stuff, and just kind of break it up into 2 groups. So A through L and then M through Z. Oh no, Mr. Lucero came just in time for the athletics question. Do you have any information regarding sports getting the go-ahead to play all sports?
Yes, I do. And there's going to be a press release that's going to come out if it hasn't already. The answer is once we enter into the approved hybrid model on the 22nd, yes, we will have sports.
Can you also clarify if a student who is also an athlete has to choose option C, or if they choose option A or B, would they still be able to play?
That is a great question, and that's the confusing question that I think many parents and students have, and that's why we're having this meeting tonight. You can choose whatever option is best for you and your family, whether that's A, to stay in remote, B, to kind of have the combination of the two, or C, to have hybrid, and you can still play and compete and practice with athletics or activities. So it's up to you, and it doesn't impact whether you can play or not.
Perfect. We just got that information that we're, what, an hour ago?
Yeah, sorry, I was in that meeting. I just got in here late because of that, but
So option C, let me kind of take you through a typical day, I guess. If you ride the bus, you get there at your normal time is 8:30ish. Wouldn't you guys agree about all the buses are there by 8:30? Students will go to the Commons cafeteria after their wellness check, whatever that looks like, get their breakfast and go straight to whatever teacher's room that they're going to be with for the day. Then really, we're going to have a little flexibility there to, let's say Mr. Lucero is in Mr. Holguin's class and needs help with math, but Mr. Holguin is a orchestra teacher. We have some flexibility there to get some help from teachers that are in the building to get specific help for that first hour, up till 10 o'clock. Then at 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock, all the teachers in the building will teach their class. All the students there will be on their computers with headphones doing their class. At 11:45, then is lunch, whether that's a grab and go if you're staying on campus, whether you're leaving campus and having to come back. But there's an hour and 15 minutes in there for lunch. Again, we're going to have to figure out, and depending on the weather, bigger areas to, gymnasiums. Mr. Lucero, I don't know how free those are sometimes during lunch, depending on the weather, but we have different big rooms that we can potentially, or we just go back to our classroom. That's going to be kind of a fluid situation. I think we have some covered areas outside, but again, if it's a temperature like today, I think everybody at school that day would probably be outside somewhere on some grass eating lunch, if it's a nice day like today. So then at 1 o'clock, they do their classes at 1 and 2. Again, the teachers are teaching their class, students are going to their class online. And then really those students that drive have the option at that 2:45 or 3 o'clock to head out for the day. And then the bus people have to stick around until 3:30, which is another half an hour of some academic support, getting questions answered for different subjects from different teachers, if that's what they need. So there's a question here about, have you had conversations with other school districts in the states that have already reopened? What's working, what's not? yes, we have had those conversations. I know there's schools on the, what side is that over there? Is that the east side? The east side of the state that are kind of in a hybrid where they're doing transition of classes and all that type of stuff. We have had conversations. Again, my best recommendation to you would to be reach out to the board members. If you refer back to the last board meeting, and then really there's another board meeting this Tuesday. Their guidance and their recommendation was to not do any of that stuff. Teachers weren't vaccinated yet, so they didn't want to force teachers to come back at that point. So again, I would reach out to the board. Yes, we have had discussions. I've met with principals from across the state and kind of seen what they're doing. If you look at Rio Rancho School District, their board just approved not really a hybrid, but a few, I think it's seniors just coming into the high school. Albuquerque Public Schools had a 6-hour meeting and didn't decide anything the other night. I'm not sure about other area school districts, but yes, we have. And really that question is dependent on what the board decides again on Tuesday. Anything else that I missed, guys? How many teachers will be assisting students? So I'm hesitant to use teachers. I'm going to use staff because we have certified teachers and classified staff who can support teachers, and they're supporting teachers all the time. Right now we're at about, what'd you say, guys, 30 to 35 at least, and we'll get a better count tomorrow on who shows up to the meeting tomorrow to do this. But I would say we're going to have a minimum of 35. Plus there's us 5 on the screen, plus another one that can come in. I can help tape your ankle. I used to do that back in the day. We have an English teacher and Dr. Baker. Lucero, what's yours? Social studies? Math? Are you a math guy?
I can do it all. I can do it all except English.
Hey, even Navy ROTC.
If you see my
Right.
text messages, you'll understand. I cannot do the language arts part of it, but I can do math, science, social. I can do it all.
So currently right now we have plenty of staff. Really for those that fill out the survey, and thank you if you have already, I think we're about 800 that have filled it out so far. So we're still missing quite a few, but again, 800 gives us a pretty good idea of what's going to happen. Yes, absolutely. If someone can write that question down for me, is can they bring their own lunch? Yes, we'll have to figure out a spot maybe somewhere, somehow, or otherwise it's just bring it in the classroom because I know some teachers have that. So I'm going to say yes to that, but let me get specifics on that piece. Student.
Mr. Mormon to talk a little bit more about what restrictions are still in place for playing instruments and that kind of stuff on campus.
So we know that there are no wind instruments. If they blow air through it, we can't play it. And same thing with any of the vocal, singing, choir, any of that stuff. That is strictly prohibited by NMAA as well as NMMEA. And we're going with that guidance as of now. So we had thought about trying to make it go outside. That's what was our offer. But even that, we were told no. So it's not at the building level. It's not at the district level. It's way above all of our heads. So those will not be happening on campus.
Yet. So, Mr. Holguin, I have a student with high functioning autism. If he goes with option C, will the teacher that is there be able to help with his math, English? What supports would we have for, what teachers are there possibly?
Well, I mean, without knowing exactly who the student is, right? Because we'd have to look at his IEP or her IEP and determine what supports they need based on the IEP. And so as I mentioned early on, that we are looking through the current list of students and surveys that have been submitted to identify those students receiving special education services, bilingual EL services, so we can make a good determination as to how we want to support those students based on their IEPs when they come back face to face. And so that's currently what we're doing. If you want to reach out to myself with the name specifically of the student, so that I could look that student up specifically, that would help. Otherwise, we will just kind of figure it out once we get a list of those students who need those supports and see how we can best do that in a
Perfect.
face-to-face with the staff we have.
And I have a name for you, Mr. Holguin, so I'll get that to you, and then if we can reach out maybe tomorrow if we got a little time. Oh, she said thank you, and hopefully she'll reach out to you. If you want to email Mr. Holguin, otherwise I'll get him name and then we'll do that stuff. So are all the sports kids using masks when practicing? Mr. Lucero has a nickname. Do you know you have a nickname?
What is it?
By all the sports people? Yeah.
What is it?
Uh-huh. Has to do with masks and
Well,
the
if it has to do
patrol
with
and
mask, it's probably a bad word because I enforce them because it's 100% mask wearing at all times. So whether you're practicing, and when we do get into competitions and we play, the NMAA through the New Mexico Public Education Department have said that masks are mandatory at all times. So you're going to see for the first time football players wearing a helmet with a mask on underneath.
Thank you. And then there's what is the intent of sending kids to school to just be on their computer? If I'm going to be 600% transparent, it's kind of twofold. Really, there's quite a few students that need that structure to come back to school, that need someone there to help, and we can offer that with the variety of teachers that we have on campus. Also, option C how do you say it, Mr. Lucero? Option C qualifies the guidelines of the NMPED as a hybrid, so it allows participation for sports as well. So
I can kind of like, so what the PED has asked and given direction to school districts and to the NMAA. Remember, this all comes from the PED. This does not come from the NMAA or a school district. And what it says is all kids that want to be in hybrid should be offered the opportunity 2 days a week. And so with this model, we're offering, the district has come up with a model at this point where we are in February, the opportunity for all students that want to come back to campus and to have face-to-face learning 2 days a week. And so in my opinion, yeah, it's a little difficult when you look at it, but like Mr. Shopacom said, there's students that need structure. They need that stuff. They might be in a household with 7 other students battling for internet. And so they do need that option. Is this going to be the final option of what our hybrid is? If I had to venture to guess, no, that it will evolve, but it's a first step. And as long as we take that first step in preparation to get to spring break into April and May, and then hopefully transition to a full back to school in August, we have to take that first step. So is it a baby step? Yes, it is, but it is a first step. And so I think if we all remain optimistic and positive, that eventually we're going to get to that. Plus, we have to think kids haven't been in the school setting for almost a year now. And so bringing them in is going to be an opportunity for staff and students to learn how this is going to work. And so that we can make corrections small and then grow in a positive direction as we move forward.
thank you. And just to reiterate again, no students can choose option A, B, or C and still be able to participate. So, if you have more questions about this type of stuff, please ask them. Updates on, here's kind of a random one, updates on graduation. So we're still looking at the different plans of so many tickets per graduate at the Field of Dreams. All the students graduating would be on the field, everybody else up in the stands. Depending on, I mean, our county is yellow now, so we may be leaning more towards that right now. And again, the worst case is we do kind of a drive-through like we did last year. Actually, talking to a lot of kids, they loved it. They didn't get the formal walk across the stage and all that piece. But if you're still here, whoever asked that on March 2nd, we'll send this information to all senior parents and all that stuff. We're going to have a senior meeting with all parents March 2nd at 5:30 to answer scholarship questions, to cap and gown questions, to every possible question. So then you really have March, April, and half of May to get that all sorted out and ready for that graduation time. So right now, keep our fingers crossed that we can, and we're 9 o'clock in the morning. So this fat bald guy will not sweat so much in the morning. Like in the afternoon. It was a little warm, Mr. Holguin, last year, wasn't it? So that's the plan right now, is to do it outside at the stadium. Worst case, it'll be kind of a drive-through in the car. So
Is there a deadline on that? They've given us like a date that says by this date we'll make a decision.
yes, there was a date, and I can't pull it off the top of my head. Was
Sure.
it May 1st? I believe we sent that out. I can send that out again, but yeah, there was a kind of a date that we had in mind to let everybody know which way, or all I know is for sure is it's at 9 o'clock on the scheduled day. And that's the
Somewhere,
Friday,
somehow.
right? Yep. Okay. I just want to double check before I speak. Yeah. May 21st at 9 a.m. And it's going to be at the Field of Dreams one way or the other.
Mr. Mormon, while we were talking, I did look up the document for music, and specifically it says in-person singing is not permitted, and it has the PED attached to that in red, and it says in-person instrument, wind instrument playing or singing is not permitted by the PED. And so again, it's not a district level decision. It's not even an NMAA decision. This is a decision by the PED. I think they're looking at reviewing on this right now, but just so you know, we do have members of the band here. We do have the drum line practicing a few days a week. They're outside, they're spread out wearing masks, which is easier for, of course, percussion to do that. And I think we have a plan in place to bring back our color guard here in the next week or so too. So we do have members of band. I just don't want any of the kids out there thinking that it's a school district or Oñate school saying that we don't want the band members' kids, but we're letting sports, because that's not the truth. This is a guidance from the PED.
And anonymous, whoever's about the driver's ed, I kind of know everything that goes on, and I cannot believe that driver's ed course would get canceled in March. If you want to shoot me an email and let me know what advisory teacher that would be, we have 4 sessions and really 8 sessions because there's a morning and afternoon, but there is a Q4 driver's ed. And if you got questions about that, email counselor or email me or one of us on here. Like, I have not heard of that unless it came up today, but that the driver's ed person is awesome on top of things, and she would have let us know if that would have happened. Yes, there is concern, and we have discussed this in principals meetings, and I'm sure ADs and ADs meetings and all this stuff about the different variants that are coming out and all that. Again, we're starting out small. Right now we have a total of probably 270 students. So if we break that in half, we're maybe looking at 150 coming in to the school on a Monday, Tuesday, 150 on a Thursday, Friday. So again, following, once we get this all settled and schedule the next meeting, if we social distance like we need to, we keep our masks on like we need to, do everything like we need to, we'll try to minimize that. I can't believe that we're going to go through an entire rest of the semester, an entire month without a case or 2 cases. Like that's just in my mind impossible. We do all the things that can prevent this, and that's why if there is uncomfortableness out there, there is the option A to remain that way. There's a lot of hesitation with some, and if your kid's doing okay, but yes, we have talked about the different variants, and again, that's why we're going to be real strict on. Mormon went through boot camp. I guess, shoot, 3 of you have, huh? As far as it's going to be strict, it's going to be mask on, 6 feet apart. Like it's going to be different. It's going to be different for quite a while, and students are just going to have to realize that and get to that piece.
Mr. Shopacom, somebody texted me a message and asked, what are the punishments or repercussions for a kid that doesn't follow the guidelines on that? Mr. Lucero, you want to jump in on that? Anybody?
Really, it's going to be
Talk.
as far as that goes, it's going to be a no tolerance. Like there's going to, there just can't be, like, if you choose to take your mask off, you don't want to follow the rules, you don't want to follow the social distance, it's like a high five in the middle of the hallway. Like it's just so common. Like I think there's going to be honest mistakes at times, but there just can't be any of that stuff. And the option is, hey, Mr. Mormon, your son did this, you're going to be online virtual for whether we do it for 2 weeks or a month, and then maybe you can come back. Otherwise, we maybe just send them and keep them virtual or online for the rest of the semester. So it's really going to be, like similar to tobacco, alcohol, drugs, just no tolerance, 0 tolerance. Like you just have to go by the rules, and we'll have a clear outline, detailed PowerPoint, so everybody kind of knows the expectations the first couple of days when students get here. Like that's going to be a lot of reinforcing those new good habits that we're going to have to create. So it's going to be a learning process, but again, I believe with all my heart that those students that want to be back in school are going to follow the rules. I mean, I don't say this just because they're our kids, and they're your kids, and we have the best kids in the town, and I can't see them, there's going to be mistakes, and we're going to have hiccups, and I'm sure they're going to go right up to that line like Mr. Lucero and Mr. Holguin did when they were little kids, and they're going to go right up to the line and not quite cross it. But again, there's going to be 0 tolerance for that stuff.
I think we'll need the parent support on that as well.
Yep.
Right. When you're dropping that kid off at front, at the front of the building, just explain to them, hey, there's a 0 tolerance, and you don't want to get the call that said that your kid decided to take their mask off, because they want to or want to do what they want to do. And, we've got to follow the guidance. We've got to, we have to follow this guidance. And just like Mr. Lucero said, we have to start with baby steps. We're going to start with these 120, 130 kids in the building at a time, and we're going to grow it. And we want to get back just as bad as the kids do, right? We want to be back as much, if not more than your parents want the kids at school. So it's the same kind of thing. So we just need your help as well, parents, to push this.
And just so now that we know the direction we're going, and we'll know more by tomorrow by 1 o'clock. I think Dr. Baker does a great job with when we're bringing students in and staff in for testing, which we have done. I think the athletic part, our athletes have been practicing since June. And so we have constant PowerPoint presentations, we have maps. I know personally, I've been on probably about 10 different Zoom meetings with parents, from boys soccer to football to volleyball or whatever it might be, to band. We've had meetings, and what we do is we go through a PowerPoint of all the rules and expectations. And these meetings are with parents and with the students. And so hopefully we can map that out for you before we actually roll around to the 22nd, and share that information with you, so that there's no unknown expectations, that everybody's on the same page. And so I think that's why, and I was very thankful to Mr. Shopcon for creating this meeting tonight with parents. And again, not to say anything, but we do care about our kids at Oñate. We care about our students. We care about our parents. And it was very important to our head principal that we had this meeting tonight with you all, so that we can have an open dialogue. It takes a village to raise our students and our kids. And so my hopes is in the next, it's 11 days away, I believe, but we can put something together. And we already have like a 30-page document that we've been working on. And now that we know where we're going to go after our meeting tomorrow with some of the staff, we'll finalize that, and we'll try to share a lot of that with you guys, so that you guys are aware of what your students, your sons and daughters are going to be expected to adhere to when they're in the building. So hopefully that will be coming at some point next week.
Thank you. Thank you. And really, placement, Dr. Baker answered it in there. We're going to have to talk to those teachers. I think it'll be beneficial if some of those students know that teacher potentially. Again, we're going to leave that up to the teachers, and Dr. Baker can explain that a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's always our intention to be incredibly thoughtful with the placement of the classroom. If you're on option C, we will, of course, look to place the student with a teacher they know or have as best as we can. But working with a small crew, we're just not sure until we start breaking up those numbers to see where kids go and who they go with. But we will certainly get input from our teachers while we're doing that, and try to make placements that are not just willy-nilly. We want your kiddo to feel comfortable wherever they're at in our school for option C.
Really, there's a question: will we be notified to see what option my child will be on? If you filled out the survey, that's really the option. If you got a question, if maybe your student did it without you, that's why we send it out to parents first. And we had kind of teachers check today, and they'll check again tomorrow. But whoever typed that in there, if you want to shoot one of us an email, and we can double check on that piece. And a recording of this meeting. So who was the smart one to start the recording? I'm sure it was Dr. Baker, because it wasn't one of us. I guarantee you. Thank you, Dr. Baker. I'll see if Mr. Martin can get this, and I'll get a link, and it'll probably be
Get on the website.
And then we'll send out kind of a YouTube link. He does all the stuff, and he can convert it and do all that fun stuff. So really, you'll just get a link in there, and that way you can. So we'll get that out here. He's working on some other videos, so it might be a day or two, but we'll get that out. Thank you, Dr. Baker. Somebody asked to record, and then I looked up and it was recording. I was like, oh, I forgot again.
I may have missed the first 3 minutes or so, but I got it.
It's all right. That's all right. Those are all the questions in the question and answer. If you got some more, you can stick around and ask some more. If not, that's really all we have. I'm going to stick around here for a while. I might let everybody else go eat lunch. You guys had breakfast yet? Are you on lunch or dinner yet today?
No, I just want to go home. We have another meeting later too.
Yep. We got this meeting, and then we have a meeting at what, 7:30 tonight? So,
Sure.
But again, if you guys need anything, please reach out. If you got more questions, like I said, if you think of something in the next half hour, I'll be hanging out here. If you got some more, so.
I'll just ask parents to please spread the word, because I'm 100% sure that we didn't have everybody here tonight. So It's important to have that communication. And if there's any questions, let us know. But please spread the word that it's a positive step. It's not the one we all want, of course, but it is a positive step, and we'll build and we'll grow. We'll do it together.
Yep, we'll have another meeting here. I'm guessing next Thursday or Friday to kind of get. Yeah, we'll shoot that out a few times and send you the text message for the link. Probably gonna have to do another webinar like this because we may be over the limit for a regular meeting. So thank you so much for asking the questions, making us think about a few that we hadn't thought about. Again, have a great evening if you don't have anything else. And like I said, if you think of something in the next half hour, I'll be here at this link, and have a wonderful night. Thank you. Really, guys, if you want to sneak out, that's okay. You can stop recording.
Yeah, totally not a